Welcome to Season 7 of the Excel Still More podcast. I am your host, Chris Emerson, and I am here to encourage you in your faith and help you strengthen your relationships. Today's episode is sponsored by Statewide Mortgage. Tyler Kane has over 20 years of experience, and he can help you with a variety of home mortgage needs. You can reach him today at 813-380-8487. Thank you so much for listening in today. Let's get started. Hey, good morning. Thanks for listening. I'm glad that you're here. Welcome to the second Monday in January as we approach around the midpoint of the month. I certainly hope that things have started well for you, particularly on a spiritual and mental level, leaning back a bit on last week's episode, and that God is putting opportunities around you to grow and a whole bunch of blessings in your path. And I really hope what we talk about today can keep that positive outlook going through this first portion of the year. I don't know if you're aware of this, but next week, the third Monday, has a label, Blue Monday. I've actually done one, maybe two episodes on it in years past, but we will not be doing that next week. It's based on a bunch of research that suggests that it's the low point or the most depressing week of the year, and they cite things like short days and cold and rainy weather. Credit card bills from December are due, Christmas is over, New Year's resolutions are already starting to hollow out, and a whole slew of things like that. And it tends to just contribute to this fast fall to a very low point after New Year's and celebration and a lot of hopes. Our goal is to avoid that pitfall. I mean, completely. Yes, it still may be dark and cold and there may be some bills due, but we want to have this rhythm in place, which I'll talk a lot more about today, that just keeps moving in this beautiful cycle repeatedly and propels productively and increasingly through all seasons, Blue Monday and otherwise. I will say, though, just at a pure straight talk, that January is my least favorite month of the year. I think there are a lot of factors that get mentioned in those lists, things like the weather, that can get us down. January kind of reminds me of New Testament Bible reading programs that start in the Gospel of Luke. Luke chapter 1 is 80 verses, the longest chapter in the New Testament. I think chapter 2 is 52 verses, which is like top 5 in length. And I'll tell people when they start there, because we often do Luke and Acts as a great starting point for study, look, these first couple chapters are about as difficult as it gets. You make it through these with the momentum of something new and this exciting project, then it'll be cake from there. And maybe that's the best way to look at January. If you know about Blue Monday or you're already feeling some of those different factors in your life, it's like Luke chapter 1 and 2. You've signed up for this tremendous project with lots of opportunity for great things, best year ever, but it's going to be front-loaded with some of the more difficult pieces. And that's designed to encourage you to go, hey, you know what? It will ease up in some ways after this. And in many areas, I think that's true. But you do need to have a plan. There are many different varieties of how plans can come together to structure out a great year. But to me, on a personal level, it always comes back to embracing rhythm and patterns, cycles, repetition and routines, this cadence of momentum that is always running and recognized in every day, week, season, and year. To give a little better sense of what I'm talking about, I want to do something here that I don't know that I've done before, maybe only once over all these years. I would like to read for you some personal prayers that I have written in the daily journal from this morning. There's a section called Level 3 Gratitude where I write down a word, one thing that I'm thankful for, and then I go about describing how God's a part of that and how I want to use it to honor Him. And today I wrote down the word cadence, followed by this: daily, weekly, yearly. Thank you, Father, for routines, for cycles, for repetition. None of this can be good or peaceful or productive without you, setting up the cycle of life, the passing of time, and sustaining us, sustaining me, day by day. I love routine. It has a cadence to it, a rhythm, but not one I dread, but that keeps me excited for every morning, every week, every season, and every year. It's interesting writing this today and then reading it to you. I was talking to Summer this morning immediately afterwards, and how maybe 10 years ago I went through this point where words that I'm thanking God for today were driving me crazy. Repetition, cycle, routines, they sound boring and scary and unrelenting. And that may be something I need to work through with you today. As you can tell from the title, we're going to settle in on a 7-day weekly rhythm, a cadence of life monitored yearly by 52 repeating cycles. And you may be someone who does not want to think about this, the passing of time and the boredom of routine. And your life and hopes and dreams are more based upon huge events of grandeur or blessings that you need this year to make it amazing. And maybe every ounce of your being is striving to get out of routines and stop this cycle. But I need you to hear that the way God built you to operate week to week, with your daily habits and balance of the things that you need, not overdoing it one way and making sure before the week is out to bring it back towards the other, is designed for your good. And it is a crucial element to the best year ever, because it means a stable, focused, prioritized you that can then go out and have that great vacation, but can also handle that death in the family. We're talking about stability here by routine, even when life is unpredictable. I wrote a little follow-up prayer under a section called Affirmations Are Cool, where I really just kind of talk about the confidence that we have in God. And I opened it in this way: what will this year hold? Only you know. But here is what I must do. I must trust you. I must choose faith, and I must honor my conscience. I will operate more from grace, confidence in your salvation. We are saved. We are your children. We have access to limitless power. Please provide that power over darkness in my life, for my family, and to bring hope through Jesus to others all year long. And that's really the goal, to live in faith day by day, week by week, all throughout the year, open to His goodness, welcoming His Spirit, and conformed by His Word. But in the meantime, as a natural part of life cycles, I've got to keep moving and building. We do that through a really cool thing called the cadence of life. Let me read you a definition of this. The cadence of life refers to the natural rhythm or flow by which life unfolds. It encompasses the patterns of activity, rest, progress, and even setbacks that shape our daily, seasonal, and lifelong experiences. Like the cadence in music or speech, it involves a balance of tempo and variation, creating a unique and dynamic rhythm for each individual. That is a definition provided to you by ChatGPT, but I really like it. This natural but controlled and managed rhythm of how your life unfolds. It mentions daily, seasonal, and yearly. That is a great way to look at how your life is unfolding. But I think there's so much reset and repeatability in the week that we're going to favor that as a way of diagramming your rhythm. I will say this about months: I don't like them as much. They're different lengths. They don't really have a reset value. Like Sunday is Sunday. It's the first day of the week. You start over. You start right. Months don't really do that. So we will be favoring weeks. But this is about identifying on that scale how your life is unfolding and how intentionally you are owning your part in it. I jotted down 3 words here before I started recording: ignore, admit, and embrace. People who talk about how fast time is passing and they feel like they're spinning their wheels and nothing seems to be changing and they can't get any momentum. These cycles and seasons and cadences are happening. They're just ignoring them, and so they're not using them well. We need to move past that stage, but the second stage is admitting it. You listen to this podcast and you go, you know what? I think that's right. I think that there's this kind of flow and I need to be managing it better, and I admit that it does exist, and then you turn off the podcast and it's next Monday and you don't know what happened. We need to embrace and maximize the cycles of life and the power of balance in routine. So as an example, and I think the primary method of approach, at least for me, I want to look at your weekly cadence. So maybe the best way to start this is for me to ask you some questions. If you had the ability to write down answers, that might be beneficial, but you can probably work through them in your head. Number 1, in a given week, a 7-day Sunday to Saturday period, What are the most important things to you in the world? The most important things to do, to be a part of, to engage in, to grow in, because of how much you love them or need them. Maybe you list things of a spiritual nature like communing with God or being at worship. Maybe you list things like time with your family or just things that you genuinely enjoy doing. I think we need to make sure those are within our week, don't you? I think we need to front load those the best that we can, which American weeks are set up for that, really on the front and the back end. I don't think a good balanced rhythm will be all those things and nothing else, but I'm perfectly okay calling those the most important things and the non-negotiables. Second question, in a normal week, what are things that you just have to do? You may not love them, but they are important. They are responsibilities. They're things you're committed to. They're non-negotiable in the sense that they keep your life and family running, and it is a fulfilling part of a productive week for you to engage in them. This can be anything from going to work or taking care of the house or errands that you have to run on behalf of your kids. Some of these are simply unchangeable and you would not want to change them. Others, like maybe where you work, you could change, but it's not on your radar, so you need to embrace them for what they are. Now, by definition, we've got to work a lot of that in, since most of it will be work, but we are admitting that it is not as important as the first list. Or maybe I should say not as valuable or prioritized. And in fact, you would probably say most of these needs, work, hard stuff-based activities are to service the things in the first category, to provide for your family, to earn so that you can be charitable for others, to fulfill the will of God in your home. And then my third question is, do you need rest? Is it important to have downtime for thinking, for simple communication, for rejuvenation throughout the week? We've looked at things that you love in the beginning, passionate, joyful things that fill you with glee and purpose. We've looked at work, labor, and sacrifice, but what about times of leisure and relaxation and rest? We're going to talk about this on a weekly scale as we wrap up this episode, but I did an episode a few years ago called No Stress Chess or something like that. I won't go through the whole premise, but I noted how each day when I'm going through the journal laying out my schedule, I space things where there is rest at least twice, maybe 3 times throughout the day, where there are pockets of nothingness, which I guess could be a little nap or something. That's rarely the case anymore, but definitely just time to breathe, time to think, maybe on my own, maybe with my wife and kids. But what that does is it relieves the stress on that second category, the laborious part, and the less those things stress me out, the more I can make time for and enjoy that first category, which are all the people and things that I love the most. So there are the 3 main categories. I know it can be subbed out in a bunch of ways that you need to have balanced in order to have the proper cadence and the proper rhythm for the music to play correctly so that what is produced can be powerful and sustainable. Okay, so here's the game. Set up 7 days and be awesome at balancing the things you love, the work you do, and the rest you need. I can't specifically detail this for you because your life and my life, your family situation, work situation, life stage, we're all a little bit different. But I can help you build a general setup or guideline that you can work from, an outline that you can modify for your needs, and that starts on Sunday. Sunday is the first day of the week. It is the pace and tone setter for everything else. And it is beautifully set up in our place and time so that you can do 3 awesome things every Sunday in which you have good health and opportunity. Number 1, you can worship the God that you love. You can be with His people, participating in His Son's memorial. You can say, this week starts with God and Christ and His church. Here in Lindale, from 9:30 a.m. to noon, we have 3 sessions. They're Bible study, worship, praise, preaching, and prayer sessions. The people I love most in the world and the God who we all love more than anything are there, and that's how we get this thing started. For my family, we look at the afternoon as 2 meals and 2 opportunities to do 2 things. One of those things is to serve others, to be hospitable, to build relationships. This is not laborious at all. It's more of an extension of that thing that we love that has some work involved in it. So we try to have new couples over for lunch or just go take someone out or spend time at someone else's home. And if we do that for lunch, when we get to the evening, we don't have PM worship services here usually. We just rest. We hang out, we play games, we watch our favorite TV show, we get in bed at a reasonable hour, and we get ready to face Monday. Those three things, worshiping God, investing in relationships, and rest in my home, are a part of every Sunday. It can get mixed around a little bit. Some churches meet on Sunday night, and the rest time comes in between. But from this beautiful, intentional beginning, we move our way into the week. My grandpa used to say, he was a golfer, you can't par them all unless you par the first one. And I've always felt that way about Sunday. It's going to be hard to have an amazing week where you really owned the cycle and took great advantage if you missed the opportunity to start well in faith on the Lord's Day. Monday through Friday has a lot of responsibility to it, doesn't it? It starts early for most families. There are jobs in the home and outside the home. There is school in the home for some and outside the home for others. A lot of us have practices or appointments in the evenings during the week, and most of us battle very full schedules. My advice is to maximize the morning and at least a pocket of time in the evening. That miracle morning, those first 30 minutes, that one great hour, however you want to say it, to me is so crucial. I know I talk about it so much, you'll turn this thing off right now if you hear it one more time. But getting up 30 minutes before you have to so that you can pray and you can read and you can plan, and maybe you can even share in some of that with your family, that is owning the day. That's saying, it's a Monday, but I'm not upset about that. This is day 2 of a natural rhythm, a cadence, a song that gets played over and over again my whole life. We will start this verse in style, with proper priority, and move forward with faith. There can then, of course, be prayer and maybe a spiritual highlight that you mix in during the day, or texting some friends, or Bible conversations, but then eventually you meet back with those that you love in the evening, and it is just so important to enjoy a little bit of rest, leisure, laid-back time, low-intensity time with your family. And then your family can enjoy each other, share things with one another, and hopefully get in bed at a reasonable hour. Wednesday night, by the way, as families often report, is the most hectic of all because there's usually church at 7 p.m. or 7:30, Bible class with God's people. A lot of families miss their bedtime for their kids because of church. But just think about how cool that is. That Sunday start, that first things first, best place, best action, great God, fellow believers, you're getting to recapture, revitalize those exact same things right in the middle of the week for an hour or two. If possible, don't miss that. If you're like, I'm tired, I'm overloaded with work, we have too much homework, then I would say it's time to work on better balancing on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday to make space for the most important things. And then comes Saturday, and hey, that's a wild card. Everybody's schedule is different. Saturdays vary wildly for us based on the season, what sport is in season, or what the kids are into. For me, it's just a nice rebalancing catch-up. The week's almost over. I know how next week starts. It starts Sunday morning at 9:30, remembering Jesus with fellow believers, and everything starts over again. But Saturday is your chance to catch up. If it's work that didn't get done, you can just sort of balance that out so you're not in the hole going into next week. If you got too busy all week, then spend twice as much time with your family. If you missed out on the Bible read that you're in and you're behind, then sit down and catch up. For me, today it's sort of a work, I guess, a labor, but one I enjoy. My wife and I are heading out of town next week, heading west for a little getaway. I'm kind of behind, so it's Saturday at 3:20 p.m. I'm up here recording. But I'm trying to use this free day to take the weight off of next week. So that's a basic breakdown of how it might work for most, but for you, I'm just asking you to embrace this for what it is. You can ignore this flow and let it get out of balance and think that words like cadence and rhythm are weird, but the weeks are still going to come and go, even if you don't notice. You can acknowledge or admit that maybe there's something here, and some control on this size of a metric could really make a difference, but then you might say, I'm so busy and I'm so behind and it's just not the right time. But I'll tell you this, for people like that, it's almost never the right time until something has really gone off the rails, and we don't want it to get to that. Or you can embrace it. Pray to God in thanksgiving for the rhythm of life. Plan a Sunday that gets you way ahead on everything that matters most, and intensify progress and momentum towards the best year ever by acknowledging and owning your weekly cadence. Thank you for joining in today. If you enjoyed this episode, please take a moment and share it with a friend. Speaking of friends, I just want to thank once again John Cunningham and the Cunningham Financial Group for sponsoring this podcast. If you have financial planning needs, give him a call today, 205-326-7364. And always remember, whatever you do in the name of Jesus Christ, excel still more.